Welcome back, everyone. Tonight it's about the economy as we focus on dollar illiquidity and matters arising. Development economist Ayobami Oyalowo is our guest for tonight. Mr. Oyalowo, good evening to you. It's been a minute. Good to see you again. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Good evening. Nice to be in your studios again after a while. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Now, let's start this conversation with CBN's new directives to banks on foreign exchange risk. I mean, precisely 2 weeks ago, that's on February 1st, the Central Bank of Nigeria continued its foreign exchange market reforms by removing the limit on the foreign forex rate quoted by international money transfer operators. This is aimed at strengthening the naira, and this is according to the Central Bank of Nigeria. How optimistic are you about these latest steps?
Well, I will have to wait and see how far the CBN directives go. I think we have allowed a lot of irregularities to become regular in our system, and this is where we have found ourselves. If you take your mind back to, let's say, 20, 15 years ago, even, you remember that we didn't have a dollar economy, we had a naira economy. Anybody who is traveling abroad who need dollars or whatever currency, you get what you call the traveler's checks. That's when the Thomas Cooks of this world, their traveler's check became very popular. That's what you used to travel. And then suddenly over the time, it became naira. I mean, it became physical cash. But you see, where the challenge comes for me is like a joke, like a play, like whatever it was, the CBN suddenly abdicated its duty. And why did I say this? You see, I have been fortunate to be into a few countries in the world, and even the ones I've not gone to, at least we cannot read. Nowhere in the world is it allowed for people to trade in currency like they are selling akara on the roadside. So the CBN needs to take a whole look at itself again and reorganize itself and now become a proper CBN that will be a bank that can supervise the banks. What am I saying? CBN has lost that power it always had in the past. I can remember clearly when I was still in the bank, there are sanctions for banks that engages in what you call round tripping. But it has become the order of the day. So our challenge is for CBN itself to actually sit down and say, look, do we want to run a naira economy or a dollar economy? And if we're going to run a naira economy, which should be the right thing, then there are basic things that should be gotten right. I see a few policies here and there, but I want to see more. I want the CBN to take a firm stand on how we're going to run this economy. Even the federal government must help. We cannot continue to dollarize our economy and then keep crying every day that dollar is going up. What people are basically doing is speculation, because whatever we are experiencing today is nothing to do with market forces. Let no one deceive you. Oh, the naira is finding its true value. No. What is going on today is criminality, pure and simple. People are committing crime against the naira and against our economy. So I want the CBN to take a firmer stand on how we're going to run this economy. We want to run a naira economy. If you are having dollars in your hand, physical dollar, it should be in your bank. We've been hearing report. I don't know how you can confirm this, but we've had report that the amount of dollar cash, physical dollar that we have hiding in people's bedroom and toilet and wherever they're hiding it is far above whatever we have as our foreign reserves. And I don't think that makes any sense to me. Individuals are keeping billions in their homes. So we are playing with fire that will burn us if we do not ameliorate our ways. We cannot run an economy on dollar, except we want to jettison the naira and then let's go fully and become a dollar economy. But for as long as naira is our currency, nowhere in the world is it allowed for people to trade currency the way we are trading it in Nigeria? The CBN needs to moderate it. If I have enough time. Okay, go ahead.
Mr. Oyalowo, talking about
I'm
speculation. This warning by CBN to speculators, do you think it's materializing? And to what end?
Well, I wouldn't know if it's materializing because as at this morning, the dollar still went higher. It's over 1,500 naira now to $1. There is nowhere this makes sense anywhere in the world. So the CBN should sit down and forget all this big grammar. There are simple things to be done. I have a few things here. Let me see if I can quickly go through them. Clearly, I believe, one, what the CBN needs to do is, one, let all, excuse me, okay, good. Anybody who have dollars in their homes right now must be told you cannot have dollar cash in your home. Let all currencies go to the CBN. Let it become money that works for the people. That's number one. Then we need to ban all cash transactions in dollars. Any cash transaction within Nigeria economic system should be banned in dollars. If you can't do it in Naira, then you can't do business here. So, and CBN should work with the bank to ensure that all dollar balances in their account is part of the CBN dollar stock. And then you can now say, okay, if you want to withdraw, there are T+2 clearing days. I mean, the CBN understand what I'm talking about. And also, the beginning of this problem was when the former CBN governor decided to do bazaar in the name of BDCs. So right now, my recommendation would be we should limit the number of BDCs to nothing more than 5 to 10 at the most. All of them must be registered. They should have a certain amount of capitalization. And any BDC that will operate under stringent rules and regulations. You can't sell dollar without, or naira without documentation. Anybody buying or selling, you must document the way you document transactions in the bank. There must be clear customer identification. Because what has happened is this. Anybody can commit any crime in this country and just go and change the money to dollars. So when this happens, you cannot trace, you don't know where the monies are. If a crime is committed today, the easiest way to solve a crime or to catch a criminal is to follow the money. Today you can't follow the money because anybody is selling dollar, anybody go to the market. It's appalling. So all this had to stop. CBN must license whoever will sell and buy dollars. And if you are buying or you are selling, there are simple forms to fill because we need to be able to trace who is buying, who is selling, where is the money coming from, where is the money going to. You can fund terrorism, you can fund banditry, funding all these criminal activities because we don't even know who has what. So this nonsense has got to stop. If we really want to solve this problem, it's not as difficult as we are making it. Because what has been going on is that if you are following the trend, any day FAC is released to be shared by state, by the next day, dollar price shoots up. So some people just take all their state allocation, buy dollar and keep it under the bed. So money that should be available to help run our economy is not there. So we will address all this if I have enough time because there are areas where our leaders too must intervene and the things I think they should do. Because we've been lying to ourselves and pretending dollar. There are simple things to be done. We cannot have people keeping money in their homes while the economy is shrinking. Why are people hiding billions of dollars in their homes? And Nigerians are being shouting. So clearly the CBN has its own role to play. But beyond the CBN, the federal and the state government, everybody has a role to play. And I'll be waiting for your questions so that I can tell you what I think each person should do. Because what is going on right now is completely not an economic system. It's criminality, pure and simple.
Right, so gladly we have the time tonight, but we'll deal with whatever the CBN is saying at the moment before we go to what the federal government and the state government can do to, complement all of this effort. But with the official rates now roughly in line with the parallel rates, for you, is this some measure for recovery of the naira, especially as the central bank clears the backlog of forex demand?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. What the CBN is trying to do is to close the room for arbitrage. You see, what has been happening in the past is when there is a huge dichotomy between the parallel market and the official market price, people easily do what you call round tripping. So I think this is what CBN is trying to guide against. But like I said, beyond what CBN has done, which I support, I think it's a very good idea, there are other things that should be done too. No transaction in dollar, in naira. Anybody who wants to do business should be able to walk into a bank with his naira component, have a form to be filled. Thank God CBN is clearing all the backlog. When this backlog has been cleared, these are supposed to be the way transactions should be done. Walk into the bank, fill your form, have your naira component. Your bank will handle it, and if there is enough cash in your account, there are ways that you have your funds transfer people to handle this and fix it. But today, people will tell you, oh, there's no money in the bank, so you go and collect naira from a malam outside. Dollar from how does it make sense, for God's sake? So I think we need to bring back sanity to how we have been doing business, both between the banks and between the CBN. The insanity that has been reigning over the past few years is what has led us to this inglorious state that we are finding ourselves today. So yes, it's a good thing the CBN is doing, trying to close that gap to reduce arbitrage. But beyond that, we need to still ensure that transactions, businesses are done the way businesses should be done. Every money that should leave or come into Nigeria has to go through the banking system. How on earth can people carry billions and billions and you go to one man somewhere in one corner and nobody knows what the transaction is about? Every transaction should be documented. So, and anybody who have dollar should have it in the bank. If you want to do a transaction, there are cards, there are system of transfers that should be documented. How can we just be running? In fact, from analysis being done, we have more physical dollar cash in Nigeria than even the Americans that hold dollar has. How does this make sense? So these are good starting point from the CBN, but I want to see more speed. I want to see people being punished for breaching their ethics of their profession. Banks must be put on their toes to do the right thing.
All right. So, just about 2 days ago, the IMF, International Monetary Fund, highlighted key recommendations to address Nigeria's economic challenges and related monetary policy concerns. Do you strongly believe that the policies of the IMF and the World Bank cannot help us?
Well, I'm the wrongest person to ask this question because my own school of thought is completely anti-Bretton Woods. Whatever they tell you to do, run away from them. Because whatever economy those people put their hands in, I can assure you, IMF, World Bank, they are the Bretton Woods institution. They are called the Washington Consensus Group. Because the way they are designed, they are not designed to help a third world economy like ours. They will tell you, oh, remove this, do this, not factoring our peculiar realities. So if I am taking it, if I'm the one taking the decision, if I'm advising those taking the decision, I will say run away from IMF. Don't listen to them. Anywhere they come, they destroy, and they ensure that they leave behind in their trail suffering, tears, and pain and blood. So I will not be discussing IMF because I see them as nothing but agents of neocolonialism and making sure that third world countries never leave their parlor state. So for me, I really don't see anything they are saying. I don't even listen to them because IMF is a destructive body. The World Bank is a very dangerous body designed clearly to keep the third world in third world situation and even make it worse. If they can even go to the fourth world, they'll be very happy just to extract whatever extractive materials they can get in your land and ensure that they keep you in perpetual poverty, ensure the people are pauperized, and then a few elites are rewarded, and then the madness continue where they met you. So for me, IMF is not a standard that I listen to. It's not something I want to talk about. They are never there to help. Any economy they touch, you can go from Congo to Angola in the past. Go to any country that they have been to and look at Venezuela. Just check out anywhere IMF touches. They leave the place worse than they met it.
So some more issues around the CBN before we move to the complementary roles of the federal government and the state government. The CBN governor, Yemi Cardoso, said the backlog of foreign exchange contract has been worked down to around $2.2 billion after the central bank paid off around $2.3 billion and dismissed another $2.4 billion because of irregularities. For you, what is the CBN looking to achieve, and how long do you think this will go in addressing the liquidity gap?
Yeah, it will go a long way to address it because, like I said earlier on, it is because the CBN has advocated this role and it has turned to something else. That is why we had this backlog of forwards that has been hanging somewhere, and we are in this situation. So yes, I completely support what the CBN governor is doing. Let us clear the backlog. Let the CBN take its preeminent role again so that every transaction can go through the normal channels. It is because the CBN is not doing its role before now. That is what has given room to this nonsense that we're having, that people have to go through the parallel market. The parallel market should normally serve just a small, minute transaction. Small, you have $100 or $200, quickly go to Malam Abugu and change it there, or go to anybody who sells. Those are the kind of transactions they should be doing. The black market that you are now calling parallel market should not, and I repeat, should not take the place of our banking system. It is unacceptable, it is dangerous, and today we are seeing the danger that they pose. Because the people running it, they are unknown, you don't know them, they don't have any law for the country, they are there clearly in the guise of the old Shylock. So we shouldn't be having transactions, real transactions, real businesses, we shouldn't be having them done through this parallel market. So I am very happy the CBN is trying to clear this backlog so that going forward, every legitimate transaction will go through the right channel that banking provides. So that if I'm buying XYZ, it is documented. I'm buying from company ABC, it is documented. The flow of transaction can easily be traced in case there are issues, in case there are deliberate mago-mago like in the Nigerian parlance. So for me, this is the right thing to do. CBN should clear all the backlogs. Then we can then come back to start regulating the banking industry. You see, the CBN became a development bank, which was wrong. You see, it's a good thing for CBN to support the economy, support agriculture, support anchor borrow and all these things. But the CBN should not be the one doing it by themselves. There should be bodies really put in place for such circumstances and situations. What the CBN should do is support it with money and expertise, and such bodies can now be supervised by the right people. But when the supervisor himself now become the one running the transaction, how do you know what is going on? That is why we are having silly stories today of 6.2 million being removed without somebody knowing that their signature has been used. This is the nonsense that has gone on in CBN over years. We've been hearing over 1.1 trillion has been spent on agriculture, but we can't even see it here. Today we are talking about food crisis. So the CBN should never have turned itself into a development bank. It should be a bank that supervises what is going on in the banking system. So the CBN should go back to its job. Let development banks and other bodies like Bank of Agriculture, like some other bodies, like the almost destroyed NASA, that all the story that comes out of that place has been criminality and stealing. Those are the things should be reorganized. Let the CBN supervise whatever is going in there, and then the CBN should not be the one doing the job of anchor borrower and all those development banking that they've been doing in the past 8 years. This nonsense has got to stop. That way, you can easily supervise, check, and then you can audit whatever happens anywhere. But when the one who should supervise is the one doing it, who audits the supervisor or who will audit the auditor? So this is the challenge we've been having, and this is why we are where we are today.
I get that, but let's quickly talk about some prudential requirements outlined by CBN to banks. One of them is practicing natural hedging by borrowing and lending in the same currency to avoid currency mismatch risk. How feasible is this?
Well, that should be, I don't know how feasible is it, but that should be the right thing to do. It is the hedging and this betting that it's betting really, you call it hedge, but you are betting against this will happen. So these are the challenges. And that is why we're in this mess. So I think it is the right thing to do, and that is how it should go. We should hedge against one currency. This currency mismatch is why we have this dichotomy and arbitrage that has cost us so dearly. And today, everybody is groaning under the weight of the bad things we have done to ourselves in the past few years.
Mr. Oyalowo, let's take a break, and when we come back, we will move on to other matters. Tonight, we're discussing dollar illiquidity and matters arising, and I've been speaking with Ayobami Oyalowo, a development economist, as our guest for tonight. We'll take a break, and we'll be right back. Please stay with Politics.